Now it's off to Tampa Bay. The Chicago Bears will be facing off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield in week 2 of the NFL season in Tampa Bay. What should we look out for in this game? Can the Bears somehow win? Watch this video to find out. With the NFL fully back in action now, there's so many opportunities to place wagers on your favorite players, on your favorite teams, etc. And if you guys want the best place to do that, I've actually partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL, to give you guys a fantastic new promotion for new players. So if you don't have an account yet, download the app down below. The link's in my description box and in the pinned comment as well. And if you use promo code The Windy City while signing up, if you actually put $5 on any wager on the app, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. It's that easy. So place $5 on anything you want, and boom, you get $200 in bonus bets, which is a really cool start to your bankroll if you want to continue placing more wagers or more bets on other action, NFL or other sports. And the app is really easy to use, very reliable. I've been using it for a long time, as you guys know, so been a great app for me personally. They also have something called same game parlays too, guys, which is pretty cool because you can actually combine a bunch of different bets in a single game. For example, passing yards for one player with rushing yards for that player with whatever else they offer in that game. If all those things happen, you get the payout that says you're supposed to get, and the odds can definitely get up there if you're combining a bunch of different things happening in a single game. So it's a very fun way to, watch a game by having a same game parlay on that game as well. And if sports betting is not legal in your state yet, they also have something called DraftKings Daily Fantasy, which is a little bit different, but you can also have a lot of fun using that app as well. So download the app down below, guys, in my description box or in the pinned comment. You'll find the link, and use promo code The Windy City. Place $5 on any wager, and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. It's that easy. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears pregame prediction video, which I'll be doing before every single Bears game this year. So subscribe to my channel if you guys want my thoughts before and after each game, which I'll still be doing these videos even if the Bears suck every single week, because I'm that committed to the Chicago Bears and to producing content for you guys, which is kind of difficult sometimes when the Bears put out the performance that they put out last Sunday. But I still gotta, do these videos for you guys, and hopefully things do turn around, okay? And hopefully it was just a bad week by the Chicago Bears. Now, if you want to hear my thoughts about week 1, I've the video. It's one right before this. I'm not going to link it, but you can just go to my channel. The video right before this one should be my reaction, my post-game reaction, in which I was completely devastated, furious, and downright pissed at every single player, every single coach on the Chicago Bears, like I should have been, because that was a completely unacceptable performance by the Chicago Bears in front of the fans at Soldier Field in a game that was so important to so many people in our fan base. So now that's been a couple days to, unwind after that game, think more rationally, and think more big picture. We still do gotta realize it was only one game, and yes, the flaws in that game were very glaringly bad flaws that I'm not sure are ever gonna be totally fixed this year unless we see massive development from our young guys, right? Like, unless Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Darnell Wright pick it up throughout the course of this year, which they very well could, but still, like, it's not, you should not have very high expectations for the Bears for that reason this year, because the roster is just way too unproven on both sides of the football. But I do have to say that going back in history, like so many times in week 1, the result does not matter at all, okay? And I'm not saying that's going to be the case for the Bears this year, because the Bears, again, do have massive flaws on both sides of the football. But last year, if you look at the week 1 results, or basically any other year, there's a lot of things that don't end up mattering a couple weeks into the year, okay? Week 1 oftentimes is just a time in which, many teams are not prepared to go, which is a bad reflection of our coaching staff if that was the case. But a lot of times, some good teams do have a bad week 1 and still rebound very fast after that. Now, remains to be seen if the Bears are going to be a team like that. I'm kind of doubtful right now, because it was just that bad in week 1, and especially against the Packers. Like, there's no excuses for that, but I'm just saying you probably should not write off a team completely after 1 week, even if it was very, very bad. So with that being said, this is now a must win for the Chicago Bears in week 2 if they want any chance of rebounding, reviving their season. And again, I'm being a little bit dramatic with that because it's still only week 2, so like theoretically, yeah, you could rebound after 0-2 start and still be fine, but we play the Chiefs right after this, guys, and we're probably not beating the Chiefs with how bad our defense is played and with how our offense is still very rocky right now. So if you're staring at 0-3, then your season's basically done, right? Like 0-3 teams almost never turn around their season and make the playoffs. So it's a big game for Justin Fields, for Matt Eberflus, the coaching staff, because guys, I really feel like if we do not win this game, people in Chicago are going to be calling for some heads, and that might include the quarterback too, unfortunately, okay? It really sucks that that's the case, but even with how bad the offensive line was, with how bad the supporting cast has been sometimes, the coaching staff as well, it's a cruel league. And even if like your surrounding situations are not good, at some point, if you don't win football games, you're not going to be on the roster long term. And again, it really does suck because I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I still think he's going to turn it around very soon. But if he doesn't, if we keep on losing games, if our offense still struggles to score 20 points a game, he's going to be gone at the end of the season, whether I like it or not. Okay, it's a results-based business, and if you're not winning games, you're not going to be on the team for much longer, even if it's not totally your fault. Okay, I think the Bears really obviously did screw up his development big time early in his career, so like we don't know how to handle quarterbacks clearly. So if we ruin Justin Fields as well, like I'm probably going to lose hope on the Bears ever having a good quarterback, because Justin Fields definitely was the most talented quarterback prospect in our history, and we still cannot build a damn good offense around him because of how bad our franchise is. So we got to turn things around really fast. And Matt Eberflus also could be on the hot seat too, because what has this guy done? He's not won very many games at all. If you're not winning games, like I mentioned, you're not going to be in the league for that long. So big game for the future of many coaches and players on this franchise, because if we keep on losing these games, it's going to get ugly in Chicago really fast, and people will start calling for some heads. But talking about our opponent in this game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, viewed by many people to be one of the worst teams in football entering this year, they somehow beat the Vikings in their opener in Minnesota, which was honestly very impressive. I did not think that was going to happen. You know, the Bucs obviously have kind of a rebuild going on right now. A lot of people thought that they would be tanking for Caleb Williams this year or any, top quarterback, which they still very well could be. Okay, week 1 results, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, don't honestly mean that much in the grand scheme of things. So the Buccaneers still could be a bad team, but the results are the results, and they did beat the Vikings last week, even though they were outgained by the Vikings in that game by 369 yards to 242 yards. So they got outplayed last weekend, but because of turnovers and because of timely plays made by Baker Mayfield, they beat the Vikings in an upset, and that very well could happen against the Bears too. I think the Buccaneers are actually favored in this game because they're going to be at home. The Bears are coming off bad performance, so that's not totally surprising. But yeah, do not underestimate this Buccaneers team, especially with how bad the Bears were last weekend. But let's talk more about the Bucs and what they have on the offensive side of the football. And I'm not going to be talking about any stats until like week 4, week 5 at the earliest, because right now the sample size is way too small. But talking about their playmakers, they got a pretty deadly wide receiver duo in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Okay, these guys have been doing it for a long time. They both have physicality, size to their game. Chris Godwin is more of the speedy guy, while Mike Evans is more of the possession guy that can go down the field, win a jump ball, be physical, be aggressive in the run game too in terms of run blocking. So those two receivers are definitely going to be a handful for the Bears to deal with, especially after struggling against guys like Romeo Doubs and other rookies on the Green Bay Packers. So definitely an increase in talent level here at the receiver spot. They also got Russell Gage behind them. That's been a solid number 3. Last year he had about 400 receiving yards. So another guy that has been productive in the passing attack. And it's going to be a little bit scary if you are a Chicago Bears fan going up against guys like this. But talking about the run game, that's where Chicago Bears fans can breathe a sigh of relief, because the Buccaneers have basically no run game to speak of whatsoever. Last year, they had the worst ranked rushing attack in football, ranked 32nd in the league. They barely attempted runs, and when they did attempt runs, they weren't very efficient running the football. But this year, they have a new offensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich is gone, and this year in the first game against the Vikings, they did attempt to run the football much more than they usually do. Okay, they ranked number 7 in rushing attempts last week, but they still ranked 23rd in total rushing yards. So still not very efficient running the football, because they don't have very talented backs, and the offensive line and run blocking is not the best up front. So for a Bears team that does struggle in defending the run, that's a big benefit for the Bears defense, not having to go up against a dynamic rushing attack like the Packers had with both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. And then finally, talking about Baker Mayfield, I want to briefly talk about him. And Baker Mayfield is a very polarizing quarterback. Okay, either he's very on or very off. Okay, meaning that either he's playing good football or terrible football. There's really not much in between. Okay, and that's part of his style. That's part of his charisma, right? Like, he's a guy that believes in himself, believes in his teammates, and a guy that can really rally up the troops and, get bad teams to play good football sometimes. But on the other hand, sometimes he does put the ball in harm's way too often. Sometimes he's trying to do a little bit too much with the ball, being a little bit too careless. So it depends on which version of Baker Mayfield we're going to be getting in this game. But if we do get the version that played against the Vikings last weekend, with how bad the Bears defense was, like, that's a scary quarterback to go up against because he had confidence in himself last weekend. And if he's playing with confidence, Baker Mayfield could actually be a pretty dangerous quarterback. He doesn't really have a great deep ball anymore because after the shoulder injury, I feel like that shoulder just that arm kind of is not the same as it used to be, right? So his deep ball is not anywhere close to what it used to be in the early days with the Browns, but he's still a quarterback that succeeds when he's doubted. And right now, Baker Mayfield definitely is being doubted by many people in the media. So, that's the Buccaneers offense. Talking about the Buccaneers defense then, they got some talent in that front seven. They also had some guys that have not been performing as they should have been. Like Logan Hall had a bad rookie year. Shoyinka, I think that's how you say his name, whoever they drafted a couple years ago in the first round, like he's also had a bad start to his Bucs career. So like it's not been smooth sailing completely on the Bucs defensive line, but they still have a lot of big names to carry the load up front. And guys like Vita Vea, okay, big, strong, powerful men. Shaquille Barrett is a fast guy off the edge that's getting a little bit older now, but he can still do what he does at a high level. Who else do they have? Levante David, a coverage linebacker that's been doing it for what seems like decades now, but he's still on top of his game. Last year he ranked as one of the best middle linebackers, coverage linebackers, off the ball linebackers in the NFL. So definitely a little bit scary for the Chicago Bears, who have struggled up front on the offensive line to go up against big names like this. They also got a pretty physical secondary too. Okay, Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the best run defending safeties. He also got scrappy guys like Carlton Davis. If you guys remember, he played against the Bears in that I think Thursday night game a couple years back against Allen Robinson. He had a few physical battles with him, and he's a guy that really touches you a lot down the field, which sounds super wrong, but he's a very physical guy like that. And they got Jamel Davis and Ryan Neal coming off pretty fantastic years in coverage last year. So overall, top to bottom, a very fantastic defense. They also ranked only number 9 in terms of yards allowed last year. So, top 10 defense against the pass, and the Bears do struggle passing the football. So not a good combination right there. But this year, it has been a little bit different in a small sample size against Kirk Cousins. They did allow 344 passing yards. They got torched through the air last weekend. So maybe they could be struggling a little bit more this year, but we'll see. The sample size is just way too small. But talking about the Chicago Bears offense now, what the hell was that last weekend? Okay, whatever the hell happened last weekend, whatever game plan that was, scrap that completely. Throw that playbook, that, play sheet away and start fresh. Okay, Luke Getsy really got away from a lot of the things that make Justin Fields so special last game plan by limiting his mobility, by limiting his ability to pass downfield. We had very few down the field concepts. A few of them Justin Fields did miss, so some of it also was on the quarterback, but the amount of deep passes called was still significantly lower than it should have been. So I do get that we are trying to stress the short passing game, working that quick passing game to improve, the overall consistency of this offense, but you can't run a capable offense in 2023 by passing the ball only horizontally every single play. So Luke Getsy is definitely on the spotlight right here. He's going to have a better performance play calling in this game. The Bears offensive line also has been a complete train wreck to start the season. They allowed 25 pressures in the last game. Rookie Darnell Wright did not have a good performance. Nate Davis also had a terrible performance. Nate Davis allowed 9 pressures in the last game. So what a nightmare performance for him. Like, he has not even practiced that much due to, like, I'm not sure what exactly the reason is. It could just be personal stuff, which I'm not trying to, delve too deeply into his personal life or what's going on with that, but he's gonna have to practice and be better in this game if he wants to be on the field long term for the Bears. Otherwise, why not just put Ja'Tari Carter in there or somebody else? Because that performance by Nate Davis was completely unacceptable. Bradson Jones actually did not do as badly in pass protection, but he did have a lot of penalties, which he has to cut down on. So the Bears offensive line definitely is very worrisome right now. Now, I do think they're much better than the tape they showed out there against the Packers last weekend, but they got to pick it up fast. Okay, the lack of preseason reps, the lack of training camp reps together really did bite them in the butt in week 1, and they have to get that chemistry, that cohesion fast now if they do want to be a good offensive line in front of Justin Fields. Now, talking about the playmakers, man, the Bears have so many talented playmakers, but last game they were not able to get any of them really involved besides for Darnell Mooney, the guy that Justin Fields actually had previous chemistry with. Okay, that was the only guy that Justin Fields did target down the field, partly also because there weren't many opportunities for Fields to attack downfield. A few of them, again, he did miss. Like, I see a play going viral on social media right now where it was like an out concept where Fields could have delivered the ball to DJ Moore down the field. He just did not throw it for whatever reason. So, like, Fields is still sometimes being a little bit hesitant throwing the football, but he's got to find out a way to get these playmakers involved. Luke Getsy does too, because these guys are way too talented to not put up any significant stats, especially Chase Claypool. I mean, what the hell was his effort in that last game? I didn't even realize it was that bad until I looked back and watched some of the game again, because obviously in the moment I was kind of mad at everybody, but specifically talking about Chase Claypool, this guy was not even trying out there in the last weekend, in the last game. So if that's going to be the case again, like, bench him, okay, and put in Tyler Scott or whoever else wants to play, wants to try, because if we have a guy out there just not even trying on his blocks, not running his routes properly, you know, why are you on the football field? So, need better effort out of Claypool. We also have to find out a way to get Claypool involved, because maybe that's going to also boost his motivation if we actually throw the ball his way. So, a lot of question marks on the Bears offense right now, but talking about the Bears defense, it's also, you know, equally, if not worse, than the Bears offense at this point in time. Okay, the last game was a bad game by the Chicago Bears defense. Even with all the acquisitions we made in the offseason, you know, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards did not really make the impact that I thought they would make in week one. Now, it's super early, so like defenses do oftentimes take time to gel and come together. So like, I'm not saying they can't be better, but they do have to pick it up fast. Okay, the Bears defensive line right now is one of the worst units in football. Okay, last game Unique Ngakoue had a few nice plays, but aside from that, nobody really stepped up. Okay, DeMarcus Walker really nowhere to be found. Justin Jones, Andrew Billings, these guys were ghosts out there against the Green Bay Packers. They got bullied up front. So until the Bears D-line starts getting some pressure, like, it's going to be very tough for this Bears defense to succeed, because it all starts up front. And if you're not getting pressure up front, the quarterback is having way too much time to throw the football. So, you know, a lot of question marks also on the Chicago Bears defense that hopefully get answered sometime soon. But talking now about my 3 keys to a Bears victory. Okay, how can the Chicago Bears still go out here and somehow win this game? And key number 1, guys, is going to be to have more creativity in your pressure packages if you are Alan Williams or Matt Eberflus for the matter. Which, by the way, guys, if Matt Eberflus wants to take over play calling duties from Alan Williams, I would be more than happy to let that happen, because Alan Williams has never had a top defense ever in his time calling plays. At least Matt Eberflus has had a top defense, top 10 defense multiple times with the Indianapolis Colts, but Eberflus is not calling plays here, okay? Alan Williams is. So I'm not sure how much things would change with how bad the Bears defensive line has been, but the 4-man rush is not working. The off-zone coverage is also not working, okay? We're not being aggressive at the line of scrimmage or in the secondary like how I thought we would be with a coach like Matt Eberflus. So that's got to change, like, immediately. Like, be more creative in how you send pressure, also in terms of your coverages, which I know my key here is talking about pressure packages, but you're going to have to be more aggressive in the secondary too if you want to have a chance to get turnovers or get pressure on the quarterback. So that's going to be huge. Obviously, key number 2, then it's going to be to utilize your best playmakers if you are Luke Getsy. A very simple key. It sounds obvious enough, but you're going to have to draw better plays to get DJ Moore and Chase Claypool involved in this offense. Otherwise, things are going to continue to go downhill on this offense, and there could be, you know, bad blood also in the locker room, okay, if you're not throwing to guys that should be getting at least a couple catches per game. Like DJ Moore, we traded back from the number 1 pick to get this guy, and he only had 2 targets in the last game. That is completely just unacceptable. So find out a way to get these guys involved, okay? And that goes to Justin Fields too. Like, Justin Fields has to give these guys chances downfield to come down with the acrobatic, you know, one-handed diving catch, because they have shown the ability to do that in the past. Okay, last year, even Chase Claypool had a diving catch on Sauce Gardner because who was the quarterback back then? Nathan Peterman or Trevor Siemian gave him a chance to catch that ball. So both Luke Getsy and Justin Fields have to find out a way to get these guys involved. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad offense yet again this year in Chicago. And then finally, key number 3 is going to be for Luke Getsy to incorporate more play action for Justin Fields. Historically, Justin Fields has been pretty good on play action concepts, even sometimes dating back to college, but for some reason, Luke Getsy refused to use any play action last weekend against the Packers. That has to change in this game against the Buccaneers. With all that being said, let's talk about my score prediction for this game. Who do I have winning this matchup? And guys, I have the Chicago Bears going into Tampa Bay as underdogs, and after a bad performance against the Packers, rebounding against the Buccaneers by a score of 21-20 to win the game. Now, if the Bears don't win this game, I'm probably not going to pick another Bears victory for the rest of the year, because at that point, like, who would we even beat? Okay, like the Cardinals maybe, but if we don't win this game, like, I don't see another win on our schedule for a very, very long time, and at that point, we could just be tanking again. So I know the Bears have big question marks on the defensive and offensive lines, and the Bears very easily could lose this game, but I do expect the coaching staff and Justin Fields to have a better performance in this game than last week, because they feel the pressure on them, and they know if they don't perform, if they don't win games this year, they could very well be gone. So I do think the Bears will be the more desperate team in this matchup, and Eberflus will have the guys ready this time, because last year, guys, almost all the games were very, very competitive. Like, I was very surprised the Bears got blown out by the Packers, especially with the coach like Matt Eberflus, because it seemed like he was a guy that does have his guys ready to play football to compete the entirety of each game. But, you know, obviously week one was totally different, but I am thinking that he is going to rebound with a better coaching performance. And Justin Fields also, I'm expecting better things out of. This guy is super freaking talented. If he just gets out of his head, which a lot of it the Bears have inflicted on him, like with how much pressure we've sent his way, with how bad the weapons were last year. He's not trusting himself to throw the ball downfield, but he's got to find out a way to do that if he wants to be an NFL quarterback. And I'm still a believer personally. I know a lot of you guys aren't. I've been seeing a lot of start Tyson Bagent comments in my comment section lately, which, you know, I get why you guys are frustrated and worried at this point, but I'm still thinking he's going to turn it around at some point. Maybe that's being too delusional, but I'm still hoping that happens, and hopefully it starts with this game. So, offensive MVP, I'm going to go with Roschon Johnson. I'm going to say he goes off for 65 rushing yards. I'm too scared to pick a receiver for this category because we haven't shown the ability to consistently pass the ball yet, so I'm going to go with the running back, Roschon Johnson. As for my defensive MVP, I'm going to be going with Tyreek Stevenson, okay? I think the Tyreek Stevenson maybe has a few nice tackles, maybe a few nice plays in coverage. Hopefully gets a pick. That'd be pretty nice against Baker Mayfield to, you know, get a turnover to help out our struggling offense as well. But leave your comments down below, guys. What do you guys think the score of this game is going to be? I'm expecting a lot of people to think the Bears will lose this game, which I'm not going to blame you guys if you think that. But personally, I'm still thinking the Bears could turn this around, which they have to if they want to save their jobs. Leave your comments down below. As always, bear down.